So this is my character. The account name is Chili Balls. As you saw in the intro, it's pretty self-explanatory. We got ball lightning. We got cold damage. Um, this is my first build in Path of Exile 2. I've never created builds before. This is actually my first experience making something. And it was pretty satisfying. A lot of what I did in the leveling process was leveling lightning damage and using spark. Uh, and we're building around the item called the Brotherhood. So I'll jump into the skill tree and you get to see more. Um, so here we have the skill tree. It's a lot of cold damage and freeze buildup and cast speed. Um, Most of the priorities are starting with damage. You want to spec into as much spell damage as possible. Then we want to focus onto freeze buildup, stuff like this, stuff like this. Um, we also want to go into cast speed. Cast speed is pretty important in this build because if not, you'll feel very slow. We spec it into here, and we have also mental alacrity over here, and it comes with mana regen, which is pretty nice. And that's our next big focus, mana regen. You want mana regen over here. You can also take some over, where is it? Over here. Um, then we'd focus on some crit. You can get some crit because our Ascendancy is going to use it. You'll see in a bit. Uh, and then we can use Energy Shield as our final priority. Um, Another thing we chose to do was we rushed block chance over here. It's very recommended that we run this build with a shield over here. You'll see that this shield is a little on the high end because we corrupted and got block chance, which was super lucky. But originally we were playing with like 43 block chance on shield, and our cap or our total was actually 61%, and it still feels good at 61%. So you'll end up taking this position very early in the game if you're looking to increase your defenses for your build, and then you can actually get started with Call of the Brotherhood later, and as you farm up exalts and stuff like that. Um, Another thing we have going on is focusing on jewels. I'll show you the most interesting one. This is the spell damage one with freeze buildup and meta skills gain increased energy, as this is a cast on freeze build, so energy is really important. We end up taking some bonus energy over here. Well, we were taking it. Now that we have a bunch of jewels, we don't take it anymore, but you can spend an extra 4 points here and get some bonuses. But we get the trigger skills, increase spell damage. What I noticed about this build is a lot of the nodes you can switch around. So like right now I'm spending 5 over here to test out crit. But if you want to go defensive, like let's say you're doing the Sekima trial, I would want to stack some energy shield. So I'd actually sub out this 5 and go into energy shield over here, and maybe somehow get an extra point and go energy shield over here with mana regen with insightfulness, or over here with dampening shield. Pretty useful stuff. You could also end up getting mana blessing, which is pretty nice for a mana pool overall. There's also some crit nodes you can end up taking here. We end up taking the AoE for big gameplay. We want big boom, so that's pretty nice. For a while, I was also trying to increase the magnitude of the non-damaging elements, like freeze and shock, because as we set up this build, it's going to be heavy on shocking and freezing for bonus damage. So we take up echoing frost and echoing thunder. For the Ascendancy, In the early levels when we were leveling, I ended up taking Tempest Caller to mess around with it because I thought it was very cool. Um, and it uses a lot of your crit, so you're spamming Spark and you're critting, it'll end up dropping a Elemental Storm that ends up doing quite a bit of damage overall. You can almost have like 3 storms activated on a target at the same time if you increase like the cooldown recovery and the duration. And then we end up taking Rain Dancer for increased recovery rate. So this Tempest Caller will activate more and more often. And then for the third Ascendancy, when you finish that, I ended up messing around with both Heavy Snows and Strike twice. I also had a thought that you can do Arcane Surge if you're needing more cast speed and mana regen and a long, consistent like Arcane Surge instead of using it on the gems. Um, you can switch around like however you like, I think, in the third Ascendancy. And once I got the fourth Ascendancy, which I did very recently, it was a really awesome fight. I would take Shaper of Storms. Maybe I'll mess around in the future and go into Force of Will just to check for more damage because I feel like I'm still shocking because Lightning Warp applies Shock Ground and there's some lightning damage on my wand here. Let's exit out of here and I'll just go over some of my items and stats. As you can see over here, as I said earlier, we have the block. We have no defenses over here. They're measly, a couple armor, a couple that, but we actually have a lot of LE res and chaos res because I got lucky on the gear. But you can actually play this build without the +1 reses, and you can also take like less chaos res if you can't afford it. We have a hit pool of over 3k over here. For a while, I was actually trying to play with Eldritch Battery, but then I realized I didn't actually have that much of a mana problem, and this only goes up by like 300 energy shield because it doesn't calculate energy shield skill points. I realized that a little late. I was just playing with 2.5k and just having a 1.5k mana pool. So for offense, we focus on both Call of the Brotherhood and just a wand. My wand is self-crafted. You can focus on spell damage first and then cast speed. You don't really need these top 2 lines, but it does increase your damage by quite a bit. And the life on kill is pretty nice too. It saves you your butt a lot of times. Our big offensive mechanism is definitely applying double shock. Double shock on big abilities like this is pretty nice because you're shocking everything and they get twice shocked, meaning they take increased like amount of damage ×2. And it also works with the lightning conduit, well, I'll end up explaining in the Cast on Free setup. For our defenses, we focus on getting the block up to 43%, making sure you get this line over here for increased block chance, and then you focus on to life and reses and everything else. It's pretty simple in terms of itemization, because you can really do whatever you like with that. So we have the wand, we have the shield. Here is the body armors. We focus on life, mana, reses, life, mana, reses. Oh, well, this one doesn't have mana. It's very sad. Some movement speed on boots, of course, and some stats and more reses. Some of these lines are a little useless, like the armor. I wish I could have life on this boot, but that's pretty expensive. For the belt, we have Chaos Res, Lightning Res, Mana and Life again. For the body, Energy Shield is kind of nice, but it's not a priority. Like, I put 12 quality on this body armor and then corrupted it and forgot I could get it to 20 before I chose to corrupt it, but it added an extra socket, so I got very lucky on the corruptions. And I slapped on Chaos Res on these items to cap out my Chaos Res. But yeah, this is my setup. My amulet is pretty interesting. I anointed Unbound Forces. It's over here on the skill tree. it was basically the cheapest anoint I could think of, and it gives some pretty good shock and chill effect for you. Um, Pretty cheap anoint. You can always do better. You can look around and figure out something nicer to anoint if you have the currency. Um, so yeah, I can go into the gem setup now. Um, we have our main abilities. The main character is actually named after Ball Lightning because I really wanted to make some cold damage Ball Lightning, but I realized Ball Lightning doesn't do that much damage but has a really cool interaction with Lightning Warp. We have So the way we have a bunch of Ball Lightnings, we combo it with Scatter Shot and Wild Shards, as you saw in one of the videos that we're doing. And also we're using Unleash. One of the videos they were doing with Ball Lightning, and I saw Wild Shards, and it was really cool. And I didn't think you could Lightning Warp off of it like this, but with the cast speed and everything, you'll be blinking across the whole map. It's pretty nice. We also have our Frost Wall. Here it is. We're using Spell Cascade. At the start, I was using Fortress. Fortress is pretty nice too, but then I realized that Spell Cascade was in the game, and it's actually 3 times the wall. I could stack it with Fortress. It makes for a pretty cool interaction, but you don't really need to. We're taking Icicle to decrease the life of our Frost Wall, because you want to drop it, block the enemies, they freeze up, and then you throw your combo at it or hit it with whatever you want, and they'll explode for big damage. So yeah, we have Spell Cascade, the low life Icicle, and then we're taking Super Critical. I was taking Phantom Mana for the mana regen originally, but then I switched to this and I thought it'd do more damage, which is, pretty cool. We have Spark. I'll go back to Frostbomb in a bit. We have Spark with freeze buildup, so more freezing power. Pierce, of course, so it can go past our Frost Wall. So we put down Frost Wall and then we start spamming Spark. That's a pretty nice combo. We're taking Arcane Surge. You can swap this out if you're taking the Arcane Surge on the Ascendancy. And then Frost Nexus gives you that chilled ground effect when you freeze them, which is pretty nice. Like, you're going to put down like a carpet of snow as you're fighting through the zone or the map. I'll go back to Hypothermia in a bit. Our defenses, this is another layer of defense for our build, Arctic Armor. It's pretty satisfying when they hit you and they get slapped back with ice and you freeze them and knock back. It's pretty good. And Mana Remnants is our second aura. It will keep your mana up as you're shocking enemies with, it works in, you would think it wouldn't work because you're full cold damage, but the shock around that Lightning Warp puts down is pretty nice. And then finally we have Cast on Freeze as a third aura. It's basic self-explanatory. I think everyone has been using Cast on Freeze, Cast on Shock, Cast on Crit to add a bit of damage to their build. And of course we're taking Comet, as it is one of the best abilities for damage output on single target. Or it's pretty nice for AoE as well. We're taking Comet, but you could take out Lightning Conduit and swap it in for more damage. Energy retention. This lets you, multiply. Basically cast multiple copies of Comet at some point. And we have Spell Echo to double down on the Comet hits. The Comet is actually the strongest ability in our build. It's doing 20k. 20k is really nice. And then we have Lightning Conduit, which I don't know the calculation on it because it does percent based on the shock effect. But I think it's a pretty nice addition to the build because as you saw in the thumbnail, this is pretty lore accurate. We got like ice, we got lightning, like we have basically the two big elements of a beautiful Stormweaver. And finally, for offense, we have the Lightning Warp. I slapped in increased cast speed. It's really good. Soul Drain you can swap out if your mana is good. I kept it in because I don't know what else to put in this one slot. Increased AOE, so we're not really adding much damage to it, but we're having it's more fun, I think. And Lightning Mastery for the +1. And we'll go back to Frostbomb and Hypothermia, your exposure, and then your curse. Basically, you can mix and match whatever you want to it. I went with lower skill effect duration and this LE damage, putting at 10k damage on activation. And Hypothermia will have the Focus Curse for slowdown and Hex Bloom, which lets it sit there for a while. I forgot to mention, we're running Clarity and Cannibalism. It's pretty nice to have both of these. If you don't have the Spirit like I do, because I get Spirit on the Amulet, you'll have to sustain, you probably just need like 30 Spirit, a bit of Spirit on this Amulet to get your auras to go perfectly, because I have it landed on 0 basically with these added Spirit modifiers, which is pretty good. Bit of skill rotations, but you basically saw in the video I was doing Spark Spam, and it activates your Tempest Caller, causing a bunch of tornadoes. So if I did this, it crits my Ice Wall, these Tempest Caller tornadoes will appear doing DOT, or not DOT, but DPS. We have Tempest Caller into Frost Wall, so like you'll have moments where you have Tempest Caller on the ground and you just slap in Frost Wall and it'll just explode the Frost Wall as you go, and they chain react and causing more crits for more Tempest Caller. It's really nice. You layer on top of a boss and they will melt. We also have Ball Lightning and Lightning Morph. It's pretty self-explanatory. You just spam it and hopefully you'll make the enemies low and that you can cold them and Lightning Morph to them as well. It's pretty good when your cast speed is killing all the balls before they end. That was not it. Wait. Okay, that was not it either. Whatever, you get the point. And then we have our cast on freeze setup, so they'll be frozen and a comet will fall down from the sky. Really nice. And the Lightning Conduit for even extra damage if you have the what is it? The greater jewelers. And then we have both of our curses. This is for boss damage. And then finally, there's one more thing I want to share during a boss fight. I end up swapping out Arctic Armor or Mana Remnants, it's up to you, for Orb of Storms. And this is a 3-socket Orb of Storms, and I take Inevitable Critical, Chain, and Overabundance. So you get a double drop Orb of Storms, and you'll do insane amounts because you'll be doing stack 3 or stack 2 Orb of Storms, and they'll be doing DPS. You'll end up seeing it in the boss fight I'll show at the end of the video. But yeah, I think that's all. I think I covered most of what I wanted to share with you guys. I hope you liked the character. Give it a try. Let me know what you think of the build, because I think that this is pretty fun in terms of like what Path of Exile 2 is trying to accomplish with this multi-button like combo-based system. It's not Path of Exile 1 where you do one button build. So this is pretty nice if you're like because I used to be a Mind player, a Saboteur, but yeah, you drop a lot of abilities. There's a bunch of combos you can do. You can come at situations with like different plans. It's pretty nice overall in terms of like defenses and stuff. Even though you assume like just block itself is like not enough. Oh, and I guess I'll share you guys like some of the older items I had on this character. I put them over here. So like this is old stuff. So you can come at this build with like a low budget and try your best to like buy up just some basic stats, and you'll be doing pretty well. The wand I was running before, I think I'm pricing it. I don't know, and I accidentally bought this wand for 20, so it's just now. I'm totally flipping that. It just doesn't do more damage than this wand, which I self-crafted. It's a little insane, but yeah, you can buy up items for cheap and exalt slam them and hope you get something good. You don't need the Kratos res to be capped out and stuff like that, and you don't need much block. You just need 60% with the this modifier right here. But yeah, thank you guys for watching the video. I'll see you next time. Maybe I'll find an update for this build because I think there's still more to do with this character. Yeah.
This battle is our sacred duty.
You will suffer the same fate as the great Varashta.
This gene courses with power.
There can be no escape. Rid yourself of your illusions.
Lightning rupture!
This only ends one way. There can be no escape. This only ends one way.
Not yet.
This only ends one way.
Big banner.
Rid yourself of your illusions.
Not yet.
There can be no escape. Your fate binds you.
I need more time.
There can be no escape. You are not in control. This only ends one way. You are not in control.
Out of mana. I need more time.
This only ends one way. This only ends one way. The sands of time wait for no one. You may have delayed your destiny, but wither into nothing. Rid yourself of your delusions. There can be no escape. You are not in control. This only ends one way. There can be no escape. There can be no escape. You are not in control. This only ends one way. This only ends one way. There can be no escape.
Need mana.
Wither into nothing. This only ends one way. Time distorts. Rid yourself of your delusions. You are not in control. There can be no escape. This only ends one way. Wither into nothing. Time flows in all directions. Watch your step. This only ends one way. You are not in control. Rid yourself of your delusions. This only ends one way. Eternity awaits you. You are not in control. Rid yourself of your delusions. Return to nothing.
Need mana. Lightning take you.
The sands of time wait for no one. A small wither in nothing. There can be no escape. This only ends one way. You are not in control. Eternity awaits you.
Need mana.
Rid yourself of your illusions.